are back for episode 4, and this time we are going to be talking about talent. And is it talent or is it ticking time bomb? So, why hiring isn't your real problem. And I think most companies, they think they have a recruitment problem, but actually what they really have is retention, enablement, or a culture problem, right, Dave? So, yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway, I'm Daniela Goodwin, and Dave.
I'm I'm Dave Stubberfield. So I think today we're getting totally honest um, about the word talent, what it means to build a high performance team that really wants to stay. They buy into the vision, they buy into where the organisation's going, and they want to be a part of it. So I think that's the crux of what we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah, I think every founder tells me the same thing, right? So we just need more people, but actually, here's the real truth. Most of them actually don't have a hiring problem. They have a people problem. That's kind of how I see it.
Interesting. And is that how they bring in the people and the people they bring in, or how they train and skill them up? How do you see it, Danielle?
I think it's that whole like hiring illusion. So, like in logistics and tech, I've seen it too often. Like, we've hired 10 people, I still can't move the needle on it. Like, that's not a headcount issue. That's a leadership issue, right? More bodies, more output, over hiring as a solution, to poor process, lack of onboarding, role clarity, like culture alignment. You know, there's some real key things that I think happen
Yeah,
ultimately.
that's a great point. I think for me, process in the world I live in of business improvement and cultural transformation, that's the thing I see the most is you can bring in the best people, but if the process isn't right, they're going to fall foul of it. And I was actually speaking to a business development manager a couple of weeks ago, and he's walked into a new role where everything is set up for him to succeed. He knows that if he does the outreach, if he does this, he's got a database full of names and contacts. If he does that, he's going to make a success of it. It's
Yeah.
just a case of doing it. I think a lot of BDMs, when they step into a similar role, they're
Mm.
looking for that, but that setup, that structure doesn't exist. It's,
Mm.
oh, you need to go and find your own leads and you need to work on this.
Yeah.
And it's very woolly, very fluffy, and it's, as a new employee, you're probably sitting there going, okay, where do I go? What do I do? How do I start? So I think for me, it's that it
Yeah.
starts with that process piece, but very quickly it leads into that cultural element.
Yeah. Absolutely. 100% agree.
So I guess the question to you, Daniela, this is your world. You live in recruitment. You've got vast experience, vast more experience than I have. What's really going on?
um, what's going on? I think in the world of recruitment, I think it's always there's highs and lows, right? Recruitment is a roller coaster. That's the only way I can describe it. And we've had amazing years. And this, I'm not just talking about logistics, right? I'm talking about across the board, like whatever business. If you were recruiting in 2022, you would place every single probably person you're out there, right? You didn't need a recruitment skills ultimately. Then it changed 23, 24. You mentioned COVID, etc. You know, then people started tightening up their belts as business owners, or maybe we shouldn't hire this person, or maybe we'll just make key hires. And I think for the last probably, yeah, 3 years, it has been a real roller coaster because if you are not a good recruiter, you will soon be found out if you either run your own uh, recruitment business. You'll be like, God, this is way harder than when I started in 2022, as an example. Um, and if you're working for an agency, you will be very, very quickly caught out. You need those right skills. Um, I started recruitment in 2008 in the crash. And actually, I have always said this, but it's the best thing that I could have done. I fell into recruitment, and yeah, I literally had at that time a pen, pieces of paper, and a phone, and that was it. And God, did I have to work hard. There was, I think LinkedIn had just maybe come out at this point. I can't remember when it came out actually. You remember when LinkedIn started?
It was about that time, wasn't it?
Something
Probably
like that.
a year or two before that. I remember joining it probably around about 2009, 2010. And I
Yeah.
think for a long time I had like two connections because I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah. But, just as an overview, I suppose, chatting a little bit there about that, but, just from how I've seen it in the last 17 years, if you are not a well-trained recruiter and, you know, yeah, you won't survive. You will not survive. And I think
Interesting.
yeah, I think going on to from a business perspective, make sure you take on the right recruiters, talent partners, whatever you want to call them nowadays, because you can take an internal person, you can build an internal team. Just make sure that you are hiring that right recruiter to do this job for you.
Yeah, amazing. So that's the first step then, is to get the right people or team involved. And I
Yeah.
think when you've got the right candidate, got them in, you've onboarded them, they're in the role for 6, 12 months maybe,
Hmm.
and then there's sort of disengagement, there's potentially performance issues, or people going, do you know what, I'm going to leave.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not even about salary no more, it's the environment they're working in.
Yeah.
Do you find that these organisations come back and go, we need a replacement for this person, and they try to rinse and repeat without looking at what core foundational problems might be?
Yeah. Yeah. I think all the things you just said about, you mentioned like the churn, um, there's no path to grow, there's no voice, there's no communication, the culture has totally changed, or, and I think this happens massively, especially in fast growing companies. Talent walks out because they were hired into a promise and not a plan, right? And I think I've seen that so many times. Um, yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Um, I think for me, when I think about recruitment and bringing people into an organisation, it's probably a little bit naive, but I think, they're going to be here for life now. That's them sorted. They're going to progress. They're going to become very senior at some point. But some people do have other ambitions, and they go, right, thanks for that experience. I'm going to take that and go elsewhere, which is absolutely their own prerogative. But at the same time, you don't want people leaving because the structure, the foundations, the environment they're working in, the systems, the support, the leadership. You mentioned communication there as well. If
Mm.
they're not right, people will just up and leave, won't they?
Yeah. And it really is that world now. COVID changed everything. And that was the biggest thing that I've seen since probably 2008 with like the recession that I worked in. And, it really did hit home. And if let's go to logistics, right? If you're a 50, 60, 70-year old, you know, experienced, seasoned CEO, business owner, you know how to run a business, right? Let's flip it on that. But actually, COVID hits. No one's ever been through that. That was, hell for a lot of people and amazing for others, right? And I'm talking business. Logistics boomed, the parcel deliveries, everyone's, all of that. That was crazy. Um, so what do? You take on more people, but actually like keep your good ones. Don't let your good people, top talent, they don't leave jobs. Now they should be, happy in their job, the culture, all of that. And I think COVID did change that. And if you didn't flip the switch and be agile enough to understand that, I think that's why a lot of people lost people, um, and maybe gained them for a bit because the money was good, or they upped the commission because they were like, God, we're getting all this revenue in. But ultimately, it doesn't always come down to money, and people love people. And, all right, they might not be in an office, but they still need that, that emotional side, that connection with their teammates. And I think if you didn't flip that switch, yeah, you will sink. And I think we saw a lot of that over there, and a lot of sales enablement has come in, right, with us trying to sort that out with the people that you have, and how do you retain your best people?
Yeah. What you've just spoken about there, Daniela, I've got a killer question for you that I've seen debates raging on LinkedIn, probably the water cooler conversations as well.
Mhm.
Hybrid working versus full time in the office. What are you seeing at the minute is the right blend? Is there a right blend?
So I think there is an add-on to that, because you are seeing hybrid roles. But again, the logistics companies, they are quite behind the times. We deal with big deep tech companies and all of that, and they are so, we're a remote first company, right? And that works for some. But the logistics companies are very much, oh, actually, now we can go back to the office. We want you in the office 5 days a week. Now, perfect example, I know a company that has done this, and they've lost 3 of their salespeople already. Now, I know operators, you know, need to probably be in the office more, but they've also started to lose those guys as well. And actually, I think to answer your question, hybrid all the way. I think it's a nice balance. Even if it was 1 day a week, I'm not talking a lot of companies like, oh, 3 days, 3 days, 3 days. No, the world has changed. It really has. You're about to have twins. You know, you wouldn't want to be in an office 3, 4, 5 days a week. 1 day, yeah,
Absolutely
fine,
not.
go and do you know what I mean? You wouldn't want to
Yeah.
do it. And actually, we've become accustomed to. I think the candidates and the employees have really made from COVID a good thing, because we all have a better work-life balance, right? We get to go out and go for lunchtime walks, or actually we might want to go and grab a coffee with our friends down the road and have a gym wag or whatever, or go to the gym. And if you're stuck in an office 3, 4, 5 days a week, you can't do that. Like unless you live in a Google-esque in centre of London, you can't do it. And
Yeah.
I think, having people hybrid, you'll get more out of them. I've seen it time and time again. People are actually like, no, if I'm headhunting someone, for instance, or my team is, even if it's a management role, we've worked this out. We've worked how to work remotely. Look at what we're doing now. We're not doing a podcast face to face. You're in Essex, I'm in Bristol, right? We adapt. And I think hybrid is the way forward. Even if it's 1 day a week, just get that connection with your teammates, meet up once a month, go out for lunch with your teammates, do that type of thing. But otherwise, yeah, that's my opinion anyway, and that's what I'm seeing from people saying. Sales and ops doesn't matter, and right, C-level, they don't want to be in the office all the time.
Yeah. It's interesting because, again, running my own business, you're in the same shoes as me. It's kind of running your own business. Like you say, I've got twins on the way. I've got a little one beginning to run about. I need that flexibility that I can work when I want to.
Yeah,
I had a period of time last weekend where I think it was probably about an hour and a half I had to myself. And I felt sort of hyper-focused. And I was like, I'm going to do some work now. I know I'm going to have no distractions. That hour and a half, I was probably the most productive I've been for a while. So that probably would have, in the week, taken me 4 or 5 hours, maybe a day, potentially, to
yeah,
get done what I did. And I love that. But I totally agree with the kind of the face-to-face element, that collaborative part of being with your colleagues. The work I do, the workshops I do, process mapping, ideally that's face-to-face, because you spark real debate, real conversation.
yeah,
It's very visual, you can see it. So yeah, hybrid all the way for me. And I
yeah,
think it's that flexibility, rather than saying you have to be in the office 3 days a week, that kind of regimented element to it.
yeah,
We're in an age where people don't like to be told what they need to do. because they've proven to the world that if you give me that freedom, I will do the right thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's very
exactly.
interesting.
Yeah. And I think just to add to that, because I'm so passionate about this, and I think it's all levels, we all live in this world where, you've got your Gen Zs, you've got, the guys who are about to retire in 5 years, they want to have more time either with their family, with their grandkids, right? The older generation, or they're looking after their older generation. Do you know what I mean? And you need that time. And I think, and when you're starting out, you need that, you need those mentors and you need that communication. And I think that's where the hybrid model really comes into play, because youngsters today, they think that they could just, they can just be on their phones all the time. And all, I know someone who has, a couple of 15-year-olds, and all they do is this on their phone, and you're like, hello. And I think, do you know what I mean? It's, I don't obviously have children, but yeah, I'm sort of the fun aunt of them. But I'm like, guys, come on, let's go out, let's do this. And I think just from a work perspective, they're like, well, what do you want to do? Oh, I don't know what I want to do. But when they get into their first job, it's eye opening. It's not when me and maybe you, I'm not sure, got to be in the office 5 days a week, got to work from 9 till 5 or 8:30, till 6. If you've got to place on a contractor on the weekend, you've got to work on a Saturday, don't get overtime. I mean, geez, these guys don't know they're living, right? But they're walking in, the younger generation are walking into a role where actually they have the flexibility, and give them that, and they will work hard for you. And that's what I've seen. A lot of the guys are like, no, like, tell me what I need to do. I will go and research it. I will go and do it. I will do all the training, make sure I have a mentor. So you've got that support there, but I only need to be in that office 1 day a week, and let me go and do what I, can grow into. And I think that's
Yeah,
that's just from a older generation and the younger generation. It does work. That model works.
it does. I think you're right, and it's that cultural element for me. It's making sure that you're aware of the different generations you might have in your organisation, and how do you create a culture where everyone can thrive. If you've
Yeah.
got a culture where it's built for younger people, the older generations are going to go, this isn't for me.
Yeah.
I thought this was job for life. I've got 5 years to retirement. Maybe I need to go and look elsewhere, or they're just unhappy for the next 5 years. It's that trade-off. I think creating that culture where you can say, we've got a real talent strategy here,
Yeah.
that buys into our culture. And this is something I want to tap into with you right now, Daniela, is
Hmm.
what's that kind of strategic view around talent? Let's kind of take that reactive versus strategic viewpoint. What's the right thing to do?
From a leadership point of view,
Yeah, I think so.
yeah. I mean, top talent, any talent, they don't leave jobs. And I think from a leadership point of view, that's where I'm sort of looking at this, is they'll leave because of poor leadership and messy environments. If you want to keep your people, good people that need that support, and that they need that support, then build it with them. Don't just sit there pointing and dictating, right? Get involved, get your hands dirty, and yeah, really understand your people and communicate with them.
Interesting. I think, again, from what I've seen, is a lot of organisations are quite reactive in how they work.
Mm.
And I think talent kind of falls into that category. Something happens, someone leaves or someone retires. We need to hire someone. We need to backfill there. And some people have kind of like contingency plans, and this is what will happen if in this scenario.
Hmm.
But it's just words on a bit of paper, really. It's never
Yeah.
really a full plan. It's still very reactive. So how do organisations hire for future growth? What's the best strategy there?
I think ultimately the best strategy to hire somebody is to know your people. And I think we touched on this like in the first or second episode. If you don't understand your people and know their strengths, their weaknesses. Like, make sure that you're getting those people in the right roles,
Mm.
and then you can actually strategize it together. That makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It does, and I think that kind of it's everything. That strategy is the onboarding piece. It's the growth, the development. You could be bringing in people that might not have the skills for the role, but they've got the appetite and the hunger to grow.
Yeah.
So that development needs to be baked into their growth and their role essentially, doesn't it? And I think that's
Yeah.
something that's probably often overlooked because in situations I've seen, it's, oh, we've got a new joiner today, he's going to sit on Dave's shoulder today and Dave's going to show him the ropes. Whereas Dave might have all the bad shortcuts and all the bad habits. And it's like, don't do that, do this. And before you know it, this new starter is kind of brainwashed, indoctrinated into an archaic way of working, potentially, if that onboarding process isn't right.
Yeah. And you need to, yeah, absolutely. And I think I've seen it in a lot of, not so much in logistics companies, because actually I think sometimes they don't necessarily, it is that hire, plug the gaps, right? Oh God, we need someone, it's not hire for future growth, it's reacting, exactly what you just said. But I think in the SaaS companies that I've seen, they really do have a playbook. They have everything at your disposal. I've walked into a couple of SaaS big companies where I'm like, wow, this is amazing. Like, I've got my laptop, I'm sitting with someone like for the whole week, everything. That onboarding piece is absolutely so poignant and so needed. And actually, when I was at this company, I felt within my first month, I was like, this is amazing. I knew exactly what I was doing, who to talk to, all the systems. I've been trained on everything, and the onboarding was insane. And it's really sad to see, because you don't see that very often. I do not see that very often at all in logistics companies, especially. And I think it doesn't matter if you're the older generation or the younger generation, you need that onboarding. And if that's not right, that person might not be there in 6 months' time because you haven't done your job.
Yeah, yeah. I think everything you've spoken to there just says to me, treat your people like their customers,
Yeah.
understand their journey, their ambitions, where they want to be in the future,
Yeah.
help remove any friction they might have, and make them want to stay ultimately, make them a part of that family, indoctrinate them into the organisation culturally in the right way and make them want to stay. Yeah, it's,
Sell the
so
vision.
Daniela,
Sell the vision from day
yeah,
one.
absolutely.
You know what
Yeah,
I
it's
mean?
a great
Like,
show.
yeah,
Yeah,
time and time again, I've seen it, and I'm like, God, like, why would you join a company that you didn't know where they wanted to go? It doesn't
yeah,
make sense.
yeah,
Like, that is my
yeah.
biggest tip, I would say, as well.
Okay, so that takes us into the next bit. Quick wins. What are the best things that an organisation can do, Daniela, to really help with their talent strategy?
Absolutely create a 30, 60, 90-day onboarding journey. Make sure you've got the playbook. Make sure you've got the right people. Exactly what I've just said, to be honest. Make sure that is wrapped around those hires. But also, and this is massive, make sure the team and the rest of the company knows what this onboarding looks like. Because if this person, you've probably seen it because I'm seeing that smile on your face, they'll sit down at their desk. Oh, I've got all these nice things. And this is, they'll meet your team. So say you've got a sales guy. Oh, we'll go for lunch with your sales team. And then you sort of might do a bit of a walk around, health and safety check, whatever. And then you're like, well, who's that over there? Well, who's that? And actually, that person, if you're going to be, say, an enterprise SaaS salesperson, and there's a pre-sales team over there, and you don't know who that is, you're going to need to work with that person day in, day out. And
Yeah,
I think that really bugs me when that doesn't happen. So make sure that the wider team or the company, depending on the size of it, knows who you are. Send an email out, send a picture around. Do fun stuff, or what are your three best things that you like, curry, wine, and Jim, this is Daniela who's just joined. Welcome her, and to do it. Don't just do it to your team. Do it to the whole business. Yeah,
Great shout. Great shout.
that would
Yeah,
be
I
my
think that's
biggest
key.
quick win.
Yeah, I think that's the one right there. Is it's onboarding, making sure that's as simple and straightforward as possible, isn't it?
Yeah,
And I think that's kind of to wrap this up. It's people first. If you put people first, then you're going to win. I think if
yeah,
you're reactive and you're ever kind of going through that process of, this is broken, we need to fix it, and let's recruit again, or let's recruit more. If you haven't got the right processes in place, the culture, that onboarding, you're going to fail.
yeah, yeah. I think, yeah, to say that, I think if ultimately you need to design businesses that, attract, empower, use that word a couple of times, I think now, and retain the best people and all of your people that are good, right? But because talent without a plan, as I said at the start of this, it is a ticking time bomb.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So if your business is scaling, share this with head of operations or people, HR maybe. These are the kind of things where plans need to be put into place, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, get the right people on board is crucial to any business. Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, well, Daniela, it's been fantastic chatting with you again. That's the end of
Yeah.
another episode. I think at this point we say give us a like, a follow, a share, subscribe to the channel, even give us a review if you'd like.
Yeah,
That'd be
leave us a
fantastic.
review. We'd love to know. We're like episode 4, do you know what I mean? So yeah, give us a review. If there's anything you want to hear and you want me and Dave to talk about, absolutely ask away.
Yeah, throw some topics at us. What can we talk about and help you guys
Yeah.
with? That'd be great. Well, thank you all for joining, and we'll catch you next time on Chain Reaction.